You've been told a lie your entire life. Not a malicious one. A comfortable one. The kind that feels like wisdom because it rhymes with something true. The lie is this: hard life builds character. It does not. Hard life is the material. What you build from it, that is entirely up to you. And the honest truth, the one nobody in a motivational video will ever say to you, is that most people do not build something great from their hardship. Most people do one of two things. They escape. Into entertainment, into substances, into pornography, into anything that makes the weight disappear for a few hours. Anything that replaces the unbearable reality with something that requires absolutely nothing from them. You know this person. You may have been this person. The one who had real pain, genuine, legitimate, unchosen pain, and found that the easiest response was to stop feeling it. Not to heal it, not to face it, just to make it quiet for long enough to get through the day. And the day became a week. And the week became a year. And suddenly the escape is not a response to the pain anymore. The escape is the life. Or they destroy. Not themselves, but the people around them. They take the weight they cannot carry and they find someone smaller. Someone who loves them. Someone who stayed. And they put it there. The bitter parent who survived something genuinely brutal, and raised their children inside that bitterness without ever knowing that is what they were doing. The person who was failed by the world, and the moment they had any power at all, found someone weaker and made that person feel exactly what was done to them. Complaining. Blaming. Making their suffering everyone else's problem and calling it honesty. This is what hardship usually produces. Not strength. Not depth. Not character. Escape. Or destruction. And the people who choose something different, who come through the fire and remain kind, remain open, remain something other than what tried to break them. Those people are so rare that when you encounter one, you feel it without being able to name it. Here is the darkest truth in this video. The people most likely to hurt the ones who love them are not the people who had it easy. They are the people who had it genuinely hard and never dealt with it. Think about what that means. The man who experienced real betrayal, and now makes every person who loves him pay in advance for what someone else did to him years ago. The woman who survived a genuinely brutal upbringing, and unconsciously recreates that same environment in every relationship she builds as an adult. Not because she wants to. Because the wound was never processed. It was only carried. And carried weight finds somewhere to land. It always lands on the closest person. The one who stayed. The one who loves you. The one who had absolutely nothing to do with what originally broke you. They become the target of a pain they did not cause and cannot understand, and you call it their fault because calling it your own unhealed wound is the hardest sentence a human being can say. And this is the specific cruelty of it. You are not a bad person. You are a wounded person who never learned that carrying the wound yourself, facing it, sitting with it, refusing to put it on someone smaller, is an option. Nobody told you that was the choice. So you did what most people do. You found someone who loved you enough to absorb it. And you let them. And over time, quietly, without dramatic announcement, you damaged the only people who were actually trying to reach you. The ones on the other side of the wall you built to protect yourself from being hurt again. The ones who kept knocking anyway. Until they stopped. This is not a story about villains. This is a story about what happens when real pain meets no real response. When hardship produces not growth but transfer. When the wound moves from the person who received it to the person who loved them. And the tragedy is that the person doing the damage often genuinely believes they are the victim. Because they were once. That part is true. What is no longer true is that the person in front of them is the one who did it. Now let me tell you about the rarest human being alive. Not the most successful. Not the most admired. Not the person with the most followers or the loudest story. The rarest. The person who had every reason to become bitter, and didn't. Who experienced real hardship, not the comfortable philosophical kind, but the kind that leaves permanent marks, and came out the other side with their kindness intact. Who was broken, genuinely, completely broken, and chose to put themselves back together without making the people around them pay for the pieces. Who had every justification in the world to find someone smaller and place the wound there, and carried it themselves instead. This is not the same as the person who performs virtue from a position of comfort. That person's goodness has never been tested. They have never been in a moment where cruelty would have been understandable, where bitterness would have been justified, where breaking something would have felt like the only honest response to what was done to them. They have never had to choose virtue when everything inside them was pulling toward something darker and easier. Their kindness cost them nothing. The person who came through real hardship and remained kind, paid for it. Every single day. Against everything pulling in the other direction. Their patience is not the patience of someone who has never been pushed past their limit. It is the patience of someone who has been pushed past their limit, who knows exactly what lives on the other side of that limit, and chose to come back anyway. Their gentleness is not weakness. It is not naivety. It is the gentleness of a person who knows exactly how much damage they are capable of inflicting, because they have felt that damage inflicted on them, and who chooses every single day not to use it. That is a completely different category of human being. And the world will not always recognize them. They do not announce themselves. They do not wear their hardship as a medal. They do not use their past as justification for their present behavior. They just keep choosing. To remain open when closing would be so much easier. To remain kind when bitterness would be so much more comfortable. To remain someone who does not take what was done to them and do it to someone else. So let me be clear about what this is actually saying. Hard life does not build character. Character is built in one specific moment. A moment that arrives differently for every person but always asks the same question. You have been hurt. You have the wound. You have the weight. You have every justification. Now what? Most people escape. Into pleasure. Into numbness. Into anything that makes the question stop. Most people destroy. They find the nearest person who loves them and they put the weight there. They complain. They blame. They make their suffering everyone else's problem while calling it honesty. And a few, very few, choose something harder than either. They face it. They carry it themselves. They refuse to transfer it to someone who loves them. They find a way, imperfectly, painfully, without any guarantee it will ever get easier, to remain. To remain kind. To remain present. To remain someone who does not take what was done to them and do it to someone else. Not because they are not in pain. Because they decided, quietly, privately, without any applause and without anyone watching, that their pain does not get to decide who they become. That is not strength you can build in a comfortable life. That is the specific endurance of a person who has been genuinely tested. And came out on the other side having chosen, against everything, to remain. If you are that person, you already know it. And if you are not yet, you now know what it costs. And what it is worth. If this spoke to you, leave a comment below. Tell me the one thing you are choosing to build today. And if you want to keep training your mind, hit that subscribe button and join us. This is Obsidian Mind.